Okay, so today I'm going to show you how we can call a Power Automate flow within a declarative agent build, like using the Amplify Agents Toolkit. So let's go ahead. So the agenda today, it's very kind of simple, just a simple solution architecture. And because I've used TypeSpec to build like the solution, just go for a brief overview, what it is, what it means, and I'm using like the OAuth, ensuring like only authenticated users can call like the Power Automate flow. So a little bit about me. So I'm Reshmee Auckloo, currently working as consultant at Evernote. These are my social media handles. I'm mainly active on LinkedIn. So if any question arises either during the demo, which I didn't manage to reply, to reach out, or anything that you've seen my contribution on. So the architecture overview it's very simple. I have like one declarative agent built using the Agents Toolkit, and it's calling a Power Automate flow, which sits in the Power Platform environment. So the Agents Toolkit, if ever you've attended some of the community calls by Microsoft in the past few weeks, it's more like a pro code way of building agents on Visual Code. It's kind of showing like the fusion between the pro code and the low code. And once you're able like to tap in the low code solution, you can kind of benefit from the rich ecosystem of connectors, easily connect to SharePoint, Microsoft Graph, or anything else that it's possible. It's more like an alternative, like all the previous solutions I've seen. Like if you have like complex logic, most of it is done like using Azure Function, which is more like again of a pro code. But again, if you do declarative agent, you can do quite powerful things even without writing any single line of code. So why trying like to have something which is more code based when you can hook up on something which is low code, and that's kind of make it a little bit easier for your life. So yeah, so I said I'm using TypeSpec. So you think of an analogy of TypeScript, which gets compiled to JavaScript. So it's kind of the same thing. TypeSpec's more like a language that you define like APIs behind the scene. It provides more like a developer-friendly way of building those of define like those API schema, and then ultimately when it's compiled, it compiles down to the individual JSON and YAML files, which are a little bit more hard work, like to maintain, to read, and if you use every TypeSpec, it kind of one source of truth. You have one file which get decompiled into more kind of verbose files if you look at it, and a bit harder like to read. And as I said, today it's just I have like one action in my agent, and which is like thinking to Power Automate. Of course, you can add more, you can make it more complex, but it's just like going just one particular aspect of it. And of course, if you have like authentication, I'm using OAuth to trigger the Power Automate. And we have a Teams developer portal where you can securely store any sensitive information to enable that OAuth to work. So here I have my sample declarative agent. This is the amplified chat. I'll show the code a little bit later, but let's see whether it all works. If it doesn't work, that's okay. I have another sessions where I run it before. I'm just asking, it could be like anything, because this agent is not grounded on any particular knowledge sources, and you will use an LLM knowledge. And I'm kind of like the answer what making the PNP community call awesome, because it's awesome. I like it, and I've I kind of defined my career, really helping me to learn a lot. So and here, and then I have my Power Automate is quite simple. It's just sending. It has just only one particular action within the Power Automate flow, which send an email, and that's and then when I've called that particular flow is saying sending email with above details, and it kind of, it's working well. It's going like to prompt me with the parameters and the information that it's going to send to that Power Automate flow. So these are like the typical information that you'll need for sending an email, like the email subject and the body. And then I can say confirm. And if it works, it should prompt me. Okay, so I've already kind of authenticate before, so it kind of remembers I've already authenticated. I'll show it, and then that's the email that it sent to me. That's very simple. So I'll show you the flow. So the flow, it's a Power Automate flow. It has only one action. I'm using a manual trigger. And in the manual trigger, you can specify who can trigger the flow. And in that here, I'm saying like only users within my tenant, so authenticated users, or you could have anonymous, which is a little bit more, which is not as secure as the authenticated users option. And the HTTP URL is quite important because I need that information that I'm going to use to define in my declarative agent, so I can trigger it. And this is like the request body schema, which again, I'm kind of defining in my action file. So if I look on here, for the declarative agent, you do have like a debug mode just to see what is happening in the background. So to show you that it's working. So I have only one action here. And if I go to this, that's how I call the function, send email. That's how it knows, like based on the intent of the user, because I say send an email, and it cannot match it to that particular one. You could have a different flow which does different things, but you need to make sure, like when you name the function or operation, it has like a sensible name to what it's doing. So I can see like the post, which is basically a REST API call, and it's exactly like the HTTP URL of my Power Automate flow, which I've just shown below before on my manual trigger, and that's like the body, which again, I didn't do anything like to code that. It's a declarative agent kind of work it out how to pass each of those information, like the email subject and the body, and then yeah, I'm not returning any response, and yeah, it's not going to do anything. So to be able to do that, I've used an app registration in the Entra ID, and on my app registration, what I've done is for API permissions, okay, I have Microsoft Graph, but I'm using the same app registration for different purposes, but and I'm using this one again, like to be able to call the Power Automate. So you'll need to give the Power Automate API permissions to the user permission to that app registration. And once you've done that, you can generate a secret for yourself to be able to save it in the Teams developer portal. So once I have the app registration details, I can go to the Teams developer portal and I can save it securely. So the Teams developer portal is kind of similar to Key Vault, which allows you to save some of your sensitive information securely, like the client ID, client secret. And one of the important things is about the base URL, which is my Power Platform environment. And the other one, which kind of I stumble upon it to try to get it to work properly, because it doesn't really make sense why the scope, we need to specify like which resource it's going, like the authentication is going against. And one of the things is like for the API permission, you had to specify like the double slash, which doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't work with single slash. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Now, if we go to the code tool of the solution, so once I have my app registration and I've registered it in my Teams developer portal, what I will get, just show you one last thing, is the auth client registration ID. That's the main important information I need for my declarative agent. So to be able to create a solution within TypeSpec, it's quite simple. You need the Agents Toolkit extension within Visual Code, and then you can just go create new agent app and declarative agent, and you start with TypeSpec for Amplify Copilot. And once you do that, it's going to scaffold a solution. And I've kept because my solution is just like very simple, not very big. So I have only like one action because I want just to invoke by power of Automate flow. But obviously you could have like more complex one. So the scaffolded solution, it comes like with the folders, actions, prompts, and everything. And one thing to notice, like everything, the extension of the files finishes that with TSB. And then if you look at the code, it has like something which is called declaratives. I don't know how to say it, at service, at the server. So in a nutshell, what it does, you define like the endpoint, the parameters that you're passing, and the response that you're expecting the action like to return. So in the action file, you have like decorated like at server, at actions, and use OAuth if you're using any authentication mechanism. And then below, you kind of define each one what it is. And I have, like I say, like post, which is the HTTP, whatever I want to do. You can have at get as well, but this one is more like triggering the Power Automate flow. So I use post. I'm passing like all the parameters information that it's required. And yeah, and then for the authentication, I'm using if you look at the scope, again, for the OAuth authentication is like a service.microsoft.com /. Don't ask me why. and the rest is kind of worked out. And one of the thing is I have like environment files. So in case you're using like CI/CD, targeting different environment. In this one, I just have dev, looker, but you could have test, dev, prod, anything. All of those will have different values. And then if I go through one of them, for the registration ID, which I've shown like in the Teams developer portal. So I kind of define it in my environment variable. And once you compile your solution, what it's going to do, it generates the individual API plugin.json and the YAML file, which is basically the open API definition of the REST API. And once you and then I think it's kind of still important like to have an understanding of the JSON and YAML file which gets generated automatically, because if anything doesn't work when you try to kind of if your solution is not working, you can go and try to work out what's wrong. So yeah, so that's it. And this is like the app package. If you know, like Agents Toolkit used to be called Teams Toolkit, and then it has like the manifest file, which has like the information for your Teams app, and then you will have like a particular reference to the declarative agent, and the declarative agent will have like reference to the API, any plugin. So plugin. It's kind of same as action, but it's just like in the in the JSON YAML world, when it compiles, the actions becomes like a plugin, and then you have like the open API file, which is again, which is still kind of stay the same. Yeah, and then when you just deploy, then you have the solution all ready for you. I think that's it.